actually part of this cohort, and I'm very lucky to be here because Dr. Eunice and Dr. Hunt brought me on to be co-leading for their project for this cohort. But my PQI and my patient partner experience did start there. So I started out to be a patient partner at Burnaby Hospital about 7 years ago, and this was shortly right after my grandma passed away, and I was having the hardest time of navigating the frustration of the system, and I always wonder, like, could this have changed the outcome in many ways? But it was a hospitalist that oversaw my grandma's care at Burnaby Hospital who pulled me out and said, hey, I just want to take a moment and ask you, like, what truly matters to you? And I asked, what do you mean by that? They asked, what matters for your grandma? And as a caregiver, what matters to you? And those questions, I was like, oh, no one ever asked me that kind of question before. So when patient partner kind of approach it and say, hey, would you like to join? We would love to have a volunteer like you. So it's been like a 7-year journey at Burnaby Hospital to be able to participate in many different projects, whether that's redevelopment or QI projects. And the funny part of it all is that all these projects that I was able to participate to provide feedbacks on, I never realized they are PQI projects or QI projects. But how PQI came into my life was really odd, because I went to work one day in emergency and there was like new funky toys on the wall, and I asked the nurse, like, oh, what are those ears? Like, why are they blinking red when I'm talking this loud? And they're like, yeah, Dr. Johar is doing a project. I was like, what project? What are we doing? And they were like, a sleep project. I was like, but why would the noise matter? Like, you're waking the patients up. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. So, and I got very curious, and I was like, I feel like I had to like walk my toes. So I approached Dr. Johar and I said, hey, what is this PQI project you're doing? How can I get involved? What can I do? And that's my journey to start with PQI. So I went through all the HIH open house, the level 1 training. It was very difficult for me because I have a genetic background, so I have a traditional science background, so the methodology is definitely different. So coming into cohort 11, it was very overwhelming, and like many of you all, I was like, what is this SQC path? How do I set up the Excel sheet? Why is this so much different than my regular data that I collect as a geneticist? And I think Dr. Eunice and Dr. Hunt would agree that I was yanking my hair every time. And I'm very grateful to be here because my journey not only was able to gain all these different tools, but many of you, all the physicians and nurse practitioners here, who have been able to welcome me as your patient partner, to listen on what you're doing, show me a different perspective. Because all this time, you have given me the space to listen to what I have to share about, for example, hip and knee surgery. Like, you're asking me, like, hey, would this pamphlet work? I'm like, oh, this is a very good question. Or how would this, do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? I'm like, no, I don't really understand what you're telling me because these terminologies is too hard. So I can't imagine another person who has no background in science or medicine to understand. So I'm very thankful for all what you folks do, because the very last day of class, Dr. Dave Williams was saying that there's what we see and what we hope to see, and there's a huge gap between that. And there's a lot of urgency, and working in emergency as a patient ambassador, I see that urgency every single day and recognize there's a gap. But being on this side of PQI, this journey has provided me new tools to understand what you folks are doing. Now I understand what PDSA cycles are and what driver diagrams. So recently, when I was sitting into new different projects I was invited in, my questions were not like, what are we trying to do here? My question is like, how can I help? What is your capacity? What can I help you with? And I can look at these driver diagrams and understand what what physicians are trying to aim, and how can I participate and provide better feedback, because I now understand the process of it all. And I really hope that more patient partners are able to come and join this journey the same way I have done, to help better understand the process of what you folks do. And something that really strikes me during the very last day of class when Dr. Yang said, you know, we gotta make the connections before the corrections. And I'm very grateful for that, because now these days, when I'm walking down the halls, I'm trying to make the connection and be able to, before we kind of make any corrections. Because if I can't understand what you're trying to do, and if you can't understand where I'm coming from, that correction cannot be made for a better space. But needless to say, you folks are doing amazing work, because you folks have provided not only all this time and dedication, but the times when a patient partner wouldn't even know if they're a patient partner. They stop you and you ask them a question. But the opportunities of a patient partner being a PQY, we also become coaches as well, which is something that Dr. Yang also mentioned. When you're very moral distress, you can turn to a patient partner. They might provide you insight that you may never think. But with that being said, because of that thought, I always still think that we're coaches of each other. I would still stop Dr. Van Ross all the time in the hall. It's like, I have a question. Can you please explain to me how I heard this comment from a patient. Now how can I deliver that to a physician? Who can I approach? And I'm physician as clinician, you folks are so busy, but I'm always grateful for the time that you provide. And something that I often do at work is I always stop Dr. Dang and I'll be like, your posters are doing so well. The patients have these questions. How do you think we can address this? And he's like, good question. And then every conversation and progress we have, he's always like, Sally, I have a dream. And I said, what's your dream? And I was like, I can help you now that I also have the same QI skills that you do. So can we work on it? And it's honestly the best journey I've gone on. And I'm very grateful for this journey. And I hope that you folks continue to do it with the capacity of your well-being, because without your well-being, our quality of our patient care would not be the same. And what I hope to do as a patient partner is continue to spread all that you do to the communities and help them understand, hey, someone out there actually cared. I can help you with that. I can direct you to the right person. I think that's why patient ambassador is a great job for me as well, because I'm just also I know that person. I can help you with that. So, needless to say, I'm very grateful, and I hope that you folks know that your hard work do not go unnoticed, because I'll be walking around the hospital regardless which hospital